Really?
Maurice, very good. Thank you. And first, I'd like to thank the board and also the applicants for being able to reschedule at the last minute.
Yes.
Sorry for that inconvenience, but we do appreciate you being able to adjust your schedules accordingly. But tonight, the first item on the agenda is regarding 1309 North Boulevard, which is in the Boulevard Historic District. And the request is to replace a freestanding sign that's in front of the business. You can see right now, this is the freestanding sign in front of the business. It's on a single pole. It's a hanging sign. They do wish to replace that sign with this, and you can see this in your packet as well. There's 2 or 3 different vantage points of the sign in your package, but it is a aluminum composite material, 2 panels, 6 square feet each. The signs will be mounted on 2 black metal poles, 6.5 feet in height. And from the zoning ordinance standpoint, those square footages and height, they do meet our sign guidelines. So again, it meets the regulations from that standpoint. But when you do review this request, the board should focus on the standards set forth in the design guidelines that relate to signage, and that includes appropriate signs, include freestanding signs, which this is, flush-mounted window, projecting, hanging, awning, and directional signs. And also a sign should be in character with those seen historically. So those are the items you consider with your guidelines as you look at requests such as signage. Again, this is it at 1309 North Boulevard.
Very good, thank you. Due to the change from a singular hanging sign to 2 posts, didn't believe it would be within my authority to go ahead and pre-approve as we have the other signs, which is just a change of the actual signage itself. But here we have metal sign, composite material on the actual signage with metal post. Thoughts, comments, concerns?
Looks good.
Well, when I drove by, my concern was that there are, 2 other buildings similar with signs that are just like this one. And adding this with the other post, and I think it's going to end up being taller, it's like you're going to it's so close to the road, you're just going to see that post more than the sign, the second post they're adding. And that was my concern. In the past, we have usually just added on another sign to this one.
One thing we do look at from a city standpoint is making sure that any visibility, the sight triangle, things like that, from people turning in and out of the parking lot and the driveway in this instance are met. So we would look at that too, but I do see what you're saying as far as the width of it would be with the extra pole.
Well, and is this one, how tall is this one?
I didn't measure it, but it is pretty close. The very top point of it, it appears as close as 6 feet tall. So
with the 2 on top of each other.
And this one, this proposed is 6.5 feet tall.
Mm-hmm. So the sign is going to be raised much higher,
What do you think?
as high as the
6
post
inches?
is.
Is that what you're saying, Maurice?
Yeah,
The new sign's about 6 inches taller than...
it would be roughly that height, yes.
Sign or
But
the post?
I'm talking the post. The sign will be up where the top of the post is now, I believe.
It would be very close. The top of the top sign might be very close to the height of the original post.
And then you're adding this other sign below it, so I'm just saying, it's so close to it's such a small space they're placing the sign in, that as you drive down there, visually, it blocks not turning into a driveway, but it blocks the view, it changes the whole character. To me, it looks inappropriate. And it would be better to not have the second post, and even if they're going to try to raise them higher, to have them coming from the one that is there.
What if they slid the signs down?
Morris, is the applicant here?
Just check, no, sir.
Thank you.
So we've got essentially 4 feet of new, of both of the 2 new signs are 4 feet. We just don't know how high up off the porch. So this is 4 feet versus whatever this is right here on the original. Because this one's going to be smaller, but it's still going to occupy a little bit more space. And your concern
But
is
it's going to go up.
a little higher than that.
Higher.
Yeah, well, we just don't know how tall this is for your
And
edification.
I believe this,
So, I mean, the concern is the height of the sign as a whole, or
The
the
post.
or the post?
The front.
of both,
Okay.
that the height of the sign is going to be higher, and with the other one, below it, you're taking up more visual space, and then you're adding the post too. And here again, it was that these houses are so close together there in that business section, and lots of them have signage in addition. I think at least there were 2, and they both had signs just like this. So they're all the same height and the same, and one is a beauty shop, and we did a lot of signage on windows and
Right.
things. But you still, as you drive down the boulevard, you see all, these signs are all in the same scale. It's the scale of it. That's what I'm trying to say. And this is the first one that you see coming, up towards Greenville Street. And it'll just block the other people's signs, I think. I could be wrong, but I didn't get out and measure to see that it was, where the 6 feet is and all. But,
Other thoughts, concerns?
and maybe I'm the only one concerned about this, but it jumped out at me like,
I mean, I understand the concern with all the additional signage. Fortunately here with this design, it's almost like one sign now cut in half. I mean, the shape of the sign is similar to what was there originally.
yeah, right.
Which is sort of cut in half with the scallop at the top as well as at the bottom.
With a little gap in between.
Yeah.
But you clearly can't have 2 of those hanging on a windy day with the current,
I mean, while not
Like a
ideal
flag.
by any means, I don't know.
If the signs were lower and the posts were a little deeper in the ground, it'd be about the same thing. You just add that second post to basically here, it's what, 4 inches.
I mean, it's that more structure to it, but I don't know that it's necessarily in violation.
No, it was probably not in violation. I just,
Not ideal.
I don't, maybe it didn't hit anyone else that way, but when I drove by each, as we all try to do, and look at these before we vote on them, and then you get down to past the houses, and on the corner, the sign that faces Greenville Street,
Right.
and that the stone house, it is a larger size, higher than, And it is two posts, I believe,
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
and it's much larger than these, and not as, this is not as large as that, but it's just a totally different feel.
Andy?
Well, at first glance, I thought the new post sign was nicer. It was a little more finished looking, had the detail. But I don't disagree with what Amanda's saying either about the scale, but if it meets code, then
All right, any other comments? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Motion for Bill, is there a second? From Mary Lou. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Solange, you got that? Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, I think your concern was well stated, and we appreciate that. BAR 2207 has been removed from the agenda, so we'll move on to BAR 2208.
Yes, thank you. BAR 2208 is 122 East Earl Street, which is in the downtown historic district, and in your package you have a significant amount of material that you've had a chance to look at over the past couple of weeks. And the applicant is seeking approval to make exterior improvements to the building. And as you can see, there are several exterior changes that require the review and approval of the board. And typically in situations when the applicant has a design professional and has a presentation, I will yield to that. And if you have any questions for the staff after the presentation, I'll be glad to answer those. But I'll turn it over to the applicant if you're okay with that, sir.
Very good, thank you. Don.
While he's getting that together, I'll introduce myself. I'm Don Chapman. It's my associate, Joel Brown. And we've got a little flyby 3D video that shows kind of a bird's eye view of going around the building. And then you'll see that there's in the packet, there's also the existing conditions of the building, as well as the modifications that we're planning for the exterior from the front and the rear. This project is a little bit unusual because it basically has two sides, three sides technically that are going to be shown. One from Earl Street, one from the parking lot side of the off the Wren Park, and then one facing Wren Park. Another thing that makes this project or property unusual is it has a large green space behind it. That would be adjacent, I guess directly behind the building facing Wren Park. Yep. We just won't be able to. Nope, he's got it. Let's see. This way.
If you want to talk, I can
Okay.
try to pull it
All
up.
right, we'll do the video if he can get it up and running.
Okay.
So, can I get to the overhead projector?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're there now.
All right. Okay. Oh, there it is. All right, perfect. Yeah, I'll use this one. Mine might be a little bit big. Pardon me 1 second. All right. What if that's not as clear as it would be on computers? All right, so what I guess if you're looking at the screen, Earl Street, right here, Wren Park parking lot, right here, and then of course Wren Park is back here, and then this green area that's directly behind the space is about 2/3 of the property behind it. And then the old stone building, the single-story stone building is right adjacent to it. The existing building as it is right now has this mansard roof that is a shingle roof. We're not quite sure when it was built, but that would be removed. The existing windows in the front that are now single pane storefront glass type, they would be removed. The existing storefront that's there that is an older, it looks like a 1970s remodel, it would all be completely removed. And then the entry that's to the left, so I guess it's a little clearer maybe on your screen, is that area there will remain, but it'll be upfitted, and I'll show you on our newest drawings. Okay. Okay. Yep. All right. So this is the video. Can you hit pause?
We don't have it.
Okay.
Behind you.
Oh, okay. But I can get it. 1 second.
All right. There it is, right there. All right.
Go ahead and play it. That's fine.
All right, we'll go ahead and play it. So you can see the storefront as it is after we've renovated. Hit pause. Can you hit pause?
You got it.
Okay. All right, there he goes. Maybe he's controlling. Are you controlling it? Okay. All right. So on this perspective, you'll see one of the things that we want to do when we remove the mansard roof, the new awning that's over the top of it, what we want to do is we want to kind of simulate a skylight look that's kind of like what you'd see at the Sullivan's restaurant. But what we want to do is we want to do that through LED lighting, because obviously to maintain that and to we can control the light source with 3,000 Kelvin or something that's more natural. But it also prevents you from having to maintain a skylight from the rooftop and having to get onto it, similar to what they're having some issues on. The column would have, or the brackets on each side of it would be semi-structural, and then the cables that would post back to the main building would also support it. But this would all be done in that bronze color that also is tying in with the window color. If you'll notice on the front 4 windows, those windows then will be replaced with operating extruded aluminum double hung units. And then if you notice, there's a little transom area that's going to have glass in it, or it may be open. We think it would be more open to that space, but what that is just to allow that to give some focal point to the entrance of the apartment that's going to occur on the second level.
The material of the awning?
We're thinking that we're going to wrap that in it's going to be a steel frame, but then we're going to wrap it with a cement siding that's going to look like metal when it's done, because the other option that we're going to do is look at it in all metal and then have it, coated so that it's a metal frame. So, and then the light maintaining the light source would be done from the underside, not from the top side. If you look at at 122 where the gentleman's going into the apartment, that has the same trim that runs around the base of the window, so it kind of ties in, similar to what we did at Benson Street into the Kay's apartment when you enter into that space, so it kind of brings you into that space. The other thing is we're adding this cornice across the very top, and that would be done in a stucco, but it would be a heavy coat with a colored trim that's kind of simulated, that's on the rendering. Also, we're wanting to paint the brick because the brick kind of is dated relative to the historic value of it, but we want to stop it about 2 feet back because the side brick actually has a really nice historic color and we want to stop it where it terminates, because the brick actually changes material there, or changes the type there. So it'll wrap on both sides, and then the cornice will wrap and stop at that corner as well, or where the brick terminates. The storefront doors and glass will be panelized like we did, again, what we did at Benson Street at the Kay's apartment, but this would be done in a fiber cement. And then the black stripe that you see, it's actually a dark brown. It's going to be a granite, so that way that'll weather a little bit better. And then the area going into the entrance of the Southern Finance will be a tile. It'll also have new doors that'll be 3/4 glass that'll tie into the horizontal line that you see going across the storefront. All right, if you'll keep moving. As you go around to the side of the parking lot side of the building, hit stop. The staircase that's there now is an existing staircase, and what we're planning on doing is using a 4x4 welded wire mesh that will be applied to the railing, because all that's existing right now. It'll just prevent somebody from going up through there and being able to fall out through the openings now. The other thing we're going to do is add, we're going to maintain the Orgray sign on the side of the building and leave that existing as it is right now in its present state. And then obviously all that will be painted to match the bronze color on the stairs.
Staircase will be painted.
Yes, the staircase will be painted the bronze color. All right, keep going, please. All right, stop. So right here, we couldn't redraw it in 3 dimension, but the image, I guess I would just say, the image on the side of the building, we'd like to discuss that with y'all to find out what we could maybe do, not to take away anything from the artist, but it doesn't really have as great an image as that we would like to have, and if we need to either look at an artist repainting it, or maybe if the city could look at doing something as a replacement to that image, we'd be open to that. The other option would be is soda blasting it off and let the brick go back natural.
Okay. I'm lost.
All right, let me pull up this picture.
Okay, all right, so it's not on there. Okay, so
This right here, so the side of the building, there's an image right here on the,
right, okay, I was looking at your video.
this image right here. No, that's what I started with. We couldn't replicate that image, so
Okay. So your preference is to do what?
either have the city do make it a project for the city to do a mural or something on that, over that area, or either, maybe look at soda blasting so that it doesn't hurt the brick and remove the image from the side of the building.
And that blasting would be able to remove that.
Pardon me?
And the blasting that you're talking about would be able to remove the image?
Obviously, it had to be tested, but in the past, that's one way of removing the brick, or to clean up brick
Okay.
without destroying the mortar joints
Sure.
or the
Okay.
brick itself. All right?
Very good.
And if we keep going, as we go around to the back, that's the one thing that hits stop. So the courtyard on this is, again, about 2/3 of the property, or 2/3 about the size of the building property. But what we were proposing here is a brick pier that would be painted the same color as the front and the rear image of the building that's shown here, that I think y'all have the example of the paint color. And with this, all right, keep going. Hit pause. All right, let me show you the image of the back of the building now, currently as it is. If you can. So the current building right now, as it sits, has this big mechanical unit right here that'll be removed, as well as the ductwork that goes into the back of the building through the window. The door will be replaced, and the windows will be replaced. Right now, they're kind of a combination of these metal frame, single pane windows. Those are going to be done with casements that will look like double hungs. But then the upper units, what we're proposing, if we go back to the three-dimensional rendering, or the flyby, this part right here is the upper level units. We're wanting to replace the windows with doors and do Juliet balconies, very similar to what we did, again, with the Bleckley at the top floor overlooking the courtyard. So it gives opportunity for somebody in the apartment to open up, listen to the music that may be occurring at the Wren Park. And then but those balconies are not, they're not functioning balconies. They're just mainly to prohibit you from coming out of the doorway. And then the awning over each of those units, as well as the central unit going into the main level, is going to be a smaller version of the one from the front with similar brackets, but without the natural light or the skylight panels inside the overhangs. Each of these have it's hard to see on this image, but each of these have right here in this, I can't really point to it. So right there, and right there is a light source, and then right under here is a light source. And then this one also has the Orgray building sign that's original. I don't know what the exact date is, but we're wanting to maintain that in its present condition. All right. Okay, hit play again. The one thing, hit stop. The one thing that the rear does not have is a cornice across the top. That's the only thing we're not bringing to the back, because again, this is the back of the building. Although it's, we hope that you think that it's a good improvement from the existing condition. So, and then there's going to be a gate on either side so that you can either go towards Maki or you can go towards the parking lot if you're inside that space. There's also a new entry stair that's going to be built that will have railing to code that brings you up to that level. All right, hit play. And then on the side of the building, which is another unusual feature about this building, is this building has two doors. It has one that exits out the rear part of the office and the one that exits out from the front office. There's multiple units along the side of this building that overlook the stone building. Several of these were wanting the option of bringing those openings back, although now that we're laying out the interior of the apartment, we may not bring each one of the existing openings back, because to make the bathrooms work, it would be very difficult to obviously have that many windows where we're going to have bathrooms up front and along the side. But we definitely are going to add some on the back side that overlook not the stone building, but towards the rear of the building. All right? One of the things you can see right here, how the cornice wraps on the front.
Yeah. So
it kind of terminates 2.5 feet back from the corner of the building. Okay? You can hit play. All right? Any questions?
Okay, very nice. Thank you for the detailed presentation. A couple questions to start. We've wrestled over time with painting brick.
With what? I'm sorry.
Painting brick.
Yes.
And I've seen here where you're only painting the front and painting the back. The problem that we've always found is that very attractive to start with, but the maintenance of it. Is there, with painting old brick like this, is there something special kind of paint or materials that can have it last a little bit longer? Because we approved some wonderful projects, but over time, brought back into question the guidelines that caution you on painting brick.
Correct. So, great question. The key to painting brick is using the correct primer. Because, I will tell you, the first building we painted was my original office 26 years ago. Still has the original paint on it. But we used the correct primer, because there's a primer specific for brick or masonry products. And once you do that and you use a good quality, like a Duration paint, as long as you keep water from penetrating coming from the outside or the inside of the building out, the brick should maintain paint with no problem. The great thing about this particular project is that this brick is actually a little porous in its texture, so it's going to bond. Paint is going to hold to it far greater than even our building at 107. So, and the reason why we painted our building at 107 is that, I don't know if you remember that building, but originally it was a bank building, and they had like terrazzo panels on it that were like a really, almost kind of an aggregate, and they were green, and so we painted it so that it looked all the way, so the color went all the way to the ground. But again, the key is using the correct paint.
Very good. Thank you for that information. Very attractive. While we've been cautious, we've also approved them when the brick doesn't necessarily add any significant architectural details. Like what I'm seeing. Comments?
I have a question about the windows on the side.
Yes.
Next to the stone building that you said you won't be using all those windows?
So if you could go back to the overhead projector. So I don't know if you can see in this, see this photo right here? There's an original opening that was bricked in, and then there's another one right here,
Oh, yeah.
and there's another one right here. This one we're probably going to use. These two right here, because of the laying out of a bathroom, having a window that comes almost all the way down to below a vanity height would be difficult to do. So, but the ones towards the back, so we're going to utilize as many as we can, because the client wants to have as much natural light coming into the building as possible. So the other thing too, with the windows, like I mentioned, you'll notice that the glass is like full glass. It's more of a storefront with a single pane window. We're actually going to bring back an extruded aluminum that's a simulated divided light that's going to be architectural, that will
Okay, so
Be more
basically
in
you're
keeping.
only opening one more window
No,
But you're
ma'am.
keeping all the others, right?
We're keeping all the others, but we're opening up.
That first,
I don't have the, let's see the other photo. There's another photo that shows some on the back. Okay. So this right here, so you can see that. So you see these windows right here?
Right.
Those are going to be opened up.
okay.
So the ones directly over the stone building, there's one or two that we may not bring back. The ones to the very front, we will, and the ones to the back, we will. The other thing we'll do is paint, that's, the awnings with this and the railing, all that'll be done in the dark bronze.
Other comments?
One question, Don, and it looks great. It's certainly an improvement, and I appreciate that. The mechanical equipment you removed from the back has got to be moving somewhere, and I don't see on the layout where that's going to be. Is it going to be rooftop or?
Rooftop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will we need to be looking at a parapet
No,
to conceal that?
we're actually going to look at the building as doing what's called a city multi-system, which is a mini-split system.
Okay.
And so those units are very low. You'd never be able to see it from the center of the building, rather than a big package unit that's currently in the building.
Right. Thank you.
Andy?
I was just going to ask, if the windows that are indicated in the drawing on the west rendering, if they're not open, are you proposing shutters across there, or, I mean, they're shown as dark, and I didn't know if that was indicating like a shutter, or if you're just saying some of those would disappear.
So because we were trying to expedite the project a little bit faster, we're submitting the elevation changes and things like that. So at the same time, while we're getting this ready, we're trying to lay out the upper level for its use. And so if you look at this side elevation, what we're proposing is that there's a potential that this window and one of these two pair on each one will go away. The others will probably remain. These definitely will remain, this one will remain, and then one of these are already existing. So that if you look at your drawing, it has A and B, so it shows which ones are existing and which ones are bricked over. So two of them we're thinking of omitting.
Would that just be bricked up then? I guess that's
Yes,
what
I would leave them as brick.
Okay.
If you, in my professional opinion, I would not put a shutter on them because there's nowhere else that there's shutters on the building, and it's not really indicative of that kind of style. As a matter of fact, I guess it would draw more attention to the window's missing.
Yeah, and that was why I was asking, because they appear as some dark something there rather than brick. So, and I
Yes.
understand why you did that.
Okay.
But that side of the building won't be painted, right? It'll be
No, ma'am.
original brick?
Neither
Original
side.
brick.
Huh?
Neither side.
Neither side, okay.
Yeah, the only portion of the sides that will be painted is the 2.5 foot return that you see on this end. And that's to help the cornice look like it was meant to terminate, so.
Mary Lou?
I would, questions about the mural, I'm sorry, the question about the mural. I think it would be awesome and amazing to keep it, maybe repainted, because that is a part of Anderson's history. It's been there my whole life, and I know a lot of people feel the same way. I love it like it is. I don't want to see it go away.
Okay.
And I don't know how anybody else feels about it.
I like it
Jill
too.
and I were talking about it because it's always been there. And I know it's kind of a funky, but I think it's appropriate because it's been there. It was part of the company that was there.
Okay.
Thoughts?
I was looking to have it removed. But yeah.
If we just feel like yes, it's been there a long time, although that doesn't mean that it's should been there a long time, in my opinion. I think if the image were a little bit higher quality that was, you know, some people have said that they're a little scared by it, because, you know.
My concern, I mean, when you were mentioning taking it off and painting something else on it, is the maintenance aspect.
Yes. Yeah, well, and I guess if the city were to be involved in it, then maybe it would be a similar that they did at the side street. And that was an image that was put on canvas and then applied to the wall itself. So,
Does anyone know the history of what year it was painted?
It's been a long time ago. It's just,
It's
the
what?
Vim Herb sign down on the,
yeah, I was trying to.
what street, is that Franklin Street? The Vim Herb sign, you know, it was faded, and someone in the last probably 15, 20 years
Yes.
redid that one. I just, to me personally, with the building, the history of the building, I don't know the history of the sign, but I know my grandfather worked in the little booth at Belk's when that was Belk's, and when I would be with him, I would look at that sign.
Okay.
I'm neutral on this.
All right. Any further questions or comments? All right. There's an awful lot of aspects to this, but I believe the presentation is very complete, except for the mural on the side. Do we have a motion? We have a motion from Andy to
Accept it, proceed.
second from Amanda. Anything further? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Very good. As to the mural,
Revisit that.
do you want to do a little more information gathering regarding the potential history of this? Is that essential to be resolved tonight?
That's fine.
I'm asking you.
No, I mean, we've researched a little bit. We've not found any, who it was, who the artist was, or anything like that. But maybe if it were to be repainted, maybe, as Maurice said, maybe make the image of the individual a little less clown-like. Because it has a little bit of a, if you glance at it, you think it's a clown. So,
I agree.
that's what it was. So,
I mean, just personal opinion, not guideline aspect, I love the cleaner lines of the building as you designed it with just the or gray drug signage. So if you would do a little more looking into it, and if you don't mind coming back on that,
okay.
very good. Thank you, Don.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Now we'll move on to VAR 2209.
This request relates to 507 Boulevard, which is located in the Boulevard Historic District. And you can see the picture of the house that we're discussing this evening on your screen. And the applicant is seeking approval to construct a new front porch and also replace the roof existing with a white metal roof, and give you a little bit more perspective as far as what the plan looks like. See how it looks currently. They're looking to add the front porch, as you can see. It's also included in your packet. You see four additional columns, which will match the two existing columns that currently exist. The porch ceiling will be tongue and groove, and the floor will be concrete. And again, the roof covering over the new porch will be an extension of the existing roof, and the request is to replace the roof with a white metal roof. Now, when you do review applications such as this with these alterations and with a roof, you look at several different standards in your design guidelines, and I'll go over those just quickly. One is a roof replacement material should be in keeping with the original architectural style of the structure. And then we're looking at additions. An addition should be compatible in scale with the primary structure. An addition should be compatible in character compatible with those of the primary structure, and then use building materials that are compatible with the structure. The design of the porch should relate to the overall architectural style of the main structure, and porch supports wood and brick should be of appropriate scale to the house. And then a porch should be similar in material to that you see historically. So those are the applications in your standards that you should go by when considering requests such as this. And again, this is for 507 Boulevard, new porch, and a new roof. The applicant is here if you have any questions, but I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Very good, thank you. Let's break this up and first talk about the addition of the porch, and we'll deal with the roof later in separate discussion. Your thoughts on the addition to the porch?
Oh, adding the porch, we're not talking about the roof.
No, the roof will do separately. We'll break this discussion up.
I have some questions on the porch. Will the concrete be painted? And what color, if it is?
Concrete on the front porch.
Yeah,
That was not discussed with me.
I thought you were gonna go brick. Brick, you want brick, they didn't want that. I think it's brick. What you think? Perimeter that a concrete, which is similar to what they're now, so it's a concrete wall. They're gonna do brick paper.
Is, obviously there's concern, if it stayed raw concrete, that is a concern.
Well, I mean, at this point in time, it's just a question as to what the plan is.
There's no conversation about painting the concrete. The two options would be either concrete or a brick paver that would be in the same color as the brick of the house. So those are the two options. I think, the dollar amount may determine which one of those two it would be, but it would not be a painted concrete.
Okay. One more question would be tongue and groove ceiling.
Yes,
Is there a color for that?
I would assume a white.
White.
How deep is did I miss that? The
Well, I don't
depth of the porch?
know that we have the dimensions of the porch, the depth.
The depth, I think we talked about a 6-foot depth porch. So it's not a tremendously deep porch, it's similar to what's there now. I think what's there now is about 5 feet. It would be a little bit, another foot out from that.
So it's not for, it's not to put a bunch of rocking chairs on and sit on the front porch. It's just to change the design, the curb appeal of the
Yeah,
house.
it's not something for rocking chairs to be laid across the
I
front.
mean,
It's not that style.
It's not that deep.
No.
So the purpose of it is just to change the architecture of the curb appeal, is that?
Curb appeal of it, but the owner, Mr. Prevost, said he would like to have a front porch all the way across the front of the house. Like I said, it's not a
Not to
not a
use
living
really,
space front porch type. It's,
but just for the looks of it.
yes, ma'am.
To me, this house is one of the best looking houses as it is on the boulevard. I was thinking it was going to be a deeper porch, and I thought, if a porch is on the back of the house, we usually approve that because it doesn't change the feel of a historic street. But it sounds like, because I thought it was to maybe, so you could sit on the front porch and, see everything happening. But,
I mean, it clearly
That's
changes the
not-
architectural,
it's just
architecture
for-
of this house and its style.
I think the plan would be for him to sit out of it. It's not like a gathering, it's not that type of porch. I mean, if he, decides to sit out there in a chair with a small table and watch the traffic go by, that would be his desire. It's not what's there presently, you cannot sit on. It is nothing more than a stoop.
Well, that's why I was just asking the depth of it, because you can't.
I mean, the depth could change. I can't see it going any more than like 8 feet if we were to change the depth of it.
No, and I'm not
Right.
saying either or, I was just trying to find the purpose of adding the porch, because it does change the whole feeling of the house,
It
which
changes the
is,
style.
right.
Other thoughts? I mean, again, as Amanda's pointed out, it's a change of the architectural style of the home.
Changes the frontage view considerably. Not necessarily a bad thing, but changes it a lot.
Other thoughts, folks? I mean, more of like a 70s style with the... Andy, what do you think?
Well, I'm struggling with the fact that the columns are in front of the windows. That's always bothered me. I know it happens, and it has happened historically, but I was just sitting here wondering if the gable were maintained over the center section, if that might keep the formality of the house a little...
Translated forward.
Yeah, I mean, if we had that same gable repeated...
Save the gable.
Yeah, it would break up that straight line across
Save the
there.
gable, in other words.
Well, I'll replicate
Maybe not
it.
as wide.
Well,
Maybe,
if the columns are staying where they were, then it would basically stay the same, but I can't tell that.
Portions just don't seem to be fitting with the addition of the 3 columns. Yes, in front of the window, but the rest of it is just...
I wonder if they could take out 2 of the columns, I mean.
But then you would, then you have too large of a span without the column, without...
Wonder if you could pull it in from the side. We're getting into design.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
but,
The spacing of the door and the windows, whether it lends itself to.
I mean,
Please understand, what we're wrestling with here is, in the historic neighborhoods, we're looking to maintain and preserve the historic characters of home. This is a radical change to the architecture of this home in the historic district.
Is there a possibility of maintaining that gable maybe even slightly larger?
yeah,
And
that's,
then putting a shed on each side, or just simply, you can't,
That was what I was
Right.
That's what
referring
it is,
to.
yeah.
I think if it's current size and you try to put a shed on each side, it's too small. I think the shed would kill what little bit of gable there is. You could slightly increase it and then put 2 sheds on it, or I think one larger gable does not lend to me architecturally looking correct either.
No.
No, it wouldn't be much larger than what it is.
But if you also increase the size of the gable, would you not also want to increase the height of it too? I mean, that's,
Yeah, so
You'd have to-
that's what I'm saying, slightly increase it, and then if we were allowed to put a shed on the left and right of it.
but are we talking about also raising the ceiling?
Yes.
But that would also change your columns too.
It would spread this,
But it would not allow you to use the same columns if you raise it, correct?
it would just be raising the height of the gable, the
Just-
peak itself.
just increases
And
gable.
expansion in width, it would raise the gable height. What that may allow is to eliminate the 2 columns that are in front of the windows that you're
Right,
concerned
right,
with. So it'd get by with 4 columns across the front.
is there a urgency in this, or could a different, that plan be brought back to us in a drawing?
What we're talking about is very different than the drawing we have. And we really need to see that drawing.
I could get that submitted fairly quickly. I mean, it's not a major, drawing change.
And, as this meeting is postponed, the next meeting is, that which, what, 3 weeks away?
Yeah, we'll be about 3 weeks away now. Let's see, I'll give you the exact date. May 18th.
It is just such a change to the existing architecture. We want to be able to preserve and protect. So if you don't mind, redraw another proposal.
Okay, yeah, no, I can have Ella Martin is who did the original, yeah, I can have her change it.
And while it's going to come back before us, let's go ahead and address the metal roof. The application says a white metal roof at that. Now, do you understand that we have approved metal roofs and we've also denied metal roofs? And we've done that based primarily, as we should, upon the character, style, and the architecture of the home. And for me, for one, this style of home does not lend itself to a metal roof. Shingle roof, it seems to be the most appropriate to this architectural style, even with the modification. Other thoughts, comments?
Agreed.
I
Agree, yes.
Absolutely.
The color white is not good.
Yeah. So if you could take that back as well, and hopefully a presentation and some modifications that we can easily pass on for you.
Is there any particular color of asphalt shingle?
You know, darker, of course, it makes the most sense.
Right.
For this style of home with the brick color. You know, charcoal gray of sorts.
That's high.
Charcoal gray to black.
Any other suggestions for you?
Anything else the roof was
Anything further?
What about the shutters? Will that-
Well, okay, here's a question. Would the shutters remain? They're not in the drawing, I just didn't know. The shutters would remain?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, the existing shutters.
Okay, so with that feedback, we look forward to seeing you next month. Your application will remain open. Motion to table this until next month. Motion from John, second from Bill, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for your patience. We look forward to seeing you next month. We'll move now on, final part of the public hearing to VAR 2210.
Okay, thank you. This address 415 Westview may sound familiar because about a year and a half ago in October 2020, you actually did approve plans for new construction on this site, but plans have since changed, so we're bringing to you tonight a new design for this property at 415 Westview. Again, it's for single-family residential construction. The proposed house will be 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, with a 2-car garage, about 1,800, 1,900 square feet, heated space, and just to give you a little bit of perspective on where this lot is and what's around it, this is an adjacent property. This is the vacant lot. And this is another property on the other side of the vacant lot. So that gives you some idea of where we're talking about. Now, again, they're in your packet, and I'll show you some of the slides. We can go through it again with new construction. Obviously, there's a lot to consider. And because of that, when we talk about the design guidelines, I included the entire chapter in your packet, so forgive me for doing that, but sometimes it's good to take another look at it a little bit closer.
Sure.
But because when you look at the design guidelines, you see that site design, building scale and form, building materials, architectural character, it even has specifics related to porches, like we just talked about, and windows and doors. So there's a lot to look at when you talk about this, but I can go through this. Fortunately, the applicants are here, so they can definitely add to any of the details that you may have with this request. But just to give you a little bit of perspective on what was included in the application package, you see the front and rear elevation. When looking at this application, some of the things that were highlighted in it, that construction is going to be hardy board, 8-inch lap siding, with a brick front and a brick chimney. You have 40-year asphalt architectural shingles. You have aluminum vinyl clad boxing and vinyl casement windows with Craftsman-style grids between the glass. And then we can talk about that in more detail as well with the applicant. But here's the right side elevation, the left side elevation. This is a general example of what the house, the type of style we're talking about. This is not the exact house, I don't believe, but this gives you perspective on what we're talking about. This probably won't show up very well, but this is kind of the brick color we have here. We're talking about the siding. And when we get specific with paint, in your packet, you probably can see the color a little bit better than what's presenting on this screen, but you see the trim color, the cement board, and brick color as well. The package also has details with the door, with the windows. So again, a lot of details when you're looking at new construction. So I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have from staff. The applicant can certainly add more to this. But again, if it is approved, we will ensure that the setbacks are met that pertain to that zoning district and everything related to single-family residential construction. Also, last year, the City Council passed some guidelines that prohibit slab-on-grade houses. Again, that's not saying this was ever the case, but we do have provisions now where it has to be built on at least a raised slab or a foundation, at least 12 inches in height.
Very good. All right, just to be sure, looking at this sketch, showing the front elevation and the rear elevation, only that front section indicated it's painted brick. That's the only portion of the brick, and the rest of it is all going to be the lap siding, the hardy board?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And the brick and the hardy board are painted the same color?
Yes.
All right, I'll go ahead and bring it out. Between glass grids, board is always looking for exterior grids. Totally different look, how that's presented, one being more historically significant and in keeping with as opposed to between the glass.
We were aware that the previous homeowner or lot owner had vinyl windows, the same, pretty similar style to what we presented, approved in their last application. So we were just going based on what they had approved and weren't aware of any current changes.
We've done vinyl siding, but the grid work is what we're talking about, the exterior grids.
Yeah. Well, in the previous case, it looked like you had approved the vinyl grids as well. So we were just going based on their previous application. And that's the knowledge that we have on it.
It could have been a vinyl grid exterior.
Exterior.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fine. The
Right.
Vinyl grid exterior.
Because obviously, while they might have made the application one way, Mary Lou would make sure that we have exterior grids.
I'm going to be your neighbor, by the way. I live right behind you, so.
So vinyl exterior grids would be.
Yeah, that would,
Exterior, yeah.
yeah, that'd be fine.
And the brick chimney is going to be painted?
It would be painted, just in keeping with the painted home, just to keep it more continuous.
And I think finally, we have pergola style, cliche of sorts. What's that photo for?
I don't believe that.
Oh, the, yeah.
There's no room.
We have,
There's a pergola
That's just
in
to
the driveway.
represent the ribbon driveway,
Oh.
keeping with the historic element. We wanted to make sure that we.
oh, the driveway is what the photo is.
Yes.
Okay. Because on the Inspiration House, I saw the
Yeah.
side. Okay.
It's hard to get a really good picture of everything coming together in one, so we wanted to try to get each element in the application.
I think the ribbon driveway is great.
Oh, it's beautiful. Is the tree going to remain the large tree?
Yeah, we're trying to keep every tree on the lot except for there is one large pine tree. Pretty much, it would be in the way of adding the driveway, so that would almost be hard not to remove. But every other tree, including the crepe myrtles on the front would remain.
Very good.
We were kind of worried about the roof structure primarily, and putting the driveway in, and then with where that front porch would sit, we decided that would be the best option to be able to do that.
I think it'll fit well in the neighborhood, and we've got several houses in that area. We're on Central Avenue. Our yards are going to back up to each other, that have the chimneys that are exposed like yours that are painted. There are quite a number of those in the neighborhood.
I have a question about the little,
It's 8 inch.
the little roof line over that window. Is that gonna be shingles also?
Bring it up.
Protruding
on the-
left side of the
On the
house,
bay
Yeah.
window?
that would be a standing seam metal roof.
Okay.
Like
Bill?
the one like this
Okay.
one.
In the past, we've approved hardy planks, hardy board for the side of houses, but in maintaining the historic look, we've had the reveal set to 5 or 5¼ inches, not 8 inches. So it still looks like a wood lap-sided house.
Okay, so instead of 8, doing a 5-inch or 5?
5, 5¼
5 and a quarter,
That's-
okay.
You okay
Yeah,
with
that
it?
would be fine.
Mhm.
5 and a quarter.
Other questions, comments, or concerns?
I think I love that the design looks like it's always been there.
Right.
And that's what we wanted to do primarily, make sure that we really like that Lindley Park area. And adding the new construction in the middle of a very established neighborhood is a tricky thing. So adding those characters like the unique, the left side of the home with the unique protrusion coming out from the standing seam roof, as well as the archway and the brick fireplace on the front, it seems really keeping with the neighborhood.
Very thoughtful design.
What about
you-
the color of the standing seam roof?
uh,
The color?
I believe it'd just be a flat black, just to go along with the black roof.
The standing seam roof.
Anything further? Good job, guys. Motion? A motion from Mary Lou, David, and second from Jill. Anything further? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Again, well done. Thank you very much. We appreciate the thoughtfulness to it all.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you so much.
That concludes the public hearing portion. Just want to advise the board that had a request from Bill Jewelers to change the awning from their current red to black. He previously authorized me to go ahead and do that as a maintenance matter. Additionally, along the lines of maintenance, they're wanting to freshen up the stucco, paint the front of in the back of the building with the same gray, essentially, that's been faded out of the stucco. Yes, the back, I think, is a bit of a white, but it's going to be consistent with the gray in the front and the back.
It's basically freshening it up.
Freshening it up, the maintenance aspect of there, but wanted to let you know that they made the application, and that was approved. That was accepted. So wanted to update you there. Also tonight, I must inform you most regretfully that Moyer Albergati has found it necessary to resign from the City of Anderson Board of Architectural Review. In her correspondence to me, Moyer states, "It has been an honor and a true pleasure to serve on this board and to have a small part in making Anderson an even better place to live. Please express my appreciation to all the hard work, to the staff, and the privilege of working with such a talented group of members who are willing to give their service to the betterment of Anderson. I wish you continued success in all your endeavors. Thank you for the opportunity, and with sincere gratitude, Moyer." Moyer has, as we all know and can agree, has faithfully served this board, the City of Anderson, and our community as a whole with distinction. Her insight into the issues, her compassion for the applicants, and her fairness in applying the guidelines has made her a truly and most valuable member of this board. Our thoughts are with Moyer. We are adjourned.
Minutes?
Minutes, approval from last minute.
The motion
I've
to
read
approve.
them
You've read it?
twice.
I found one typo.
Okay, where's that?
It's on page 4, be in the third paragraph down. It says typically food for 100 years, it should be typically good for 100 years.
All right.
Wait, now, on page 3, actually, I did circle something, now that you said that, that was a typo. Past, it really is not, past, where it says, John as stated, it's preferable, but we have in the past owned several style homes. It should be, it was supposed to be the end. We have in the past on similar style homes, and it says OM on mine. I mean, look,